Welcome to the Up Podcast, raw real talk on everything young parenting.
From self-care, co-parenting, and family planning to balancing school, work, relationships, and goals.
Together, we're challenging society's assumptions and building a safe and supportive community for young parents.
One honest conversation at a time. So join us on the journey.
Hey y'all, welcome back to another Yup podcast. We are so excited to have you back and so excited to just kind of wing it today. We're just winging it. But as always, I'm Brandy.
I'm Divine. And today, like Brandy said, we are winging it because, as much as we like to give support, we need it too. So today we are just going to debrief on life, give you a real raw update of our everyday. Usually we, talk about different parenting topics, but today we're just going to debunk all of the things, life updates, get to know us a little bit more for who we are. Again, as we always clarify, we are not perfect. Our lifestyles are not perfect. So yeah, let's just jump right into things. How are you, Brandy? How are you doing?
How am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm doing, the year started off kind of crazy, and I think I made, this is what I made a vow to last year. I decided I'm going to choose joy. No matter what, I'm going to choose joy, right? That was 2024. And I think that I did. I think that I found a lot of joy. And so I'm like, I just need to trickle that into this year because the year started off great. I mean, we, went on a family vacation and we, whatever. And then from that vacation, we came home to, y'all may or may not know that I live in LA. So we came back to half the city on fire. So that was a crazy, crazy transition. And then just, school and work. And we, recently there are lawsuits happening about, birth control methods. And so there's just so much happening that I feel like I need to keep peace. I need to stay at peace. I need to keep my joy because otherwise, dang, between a new administration, and all the things, it's a lot. How are you?
Well, to just piggyback off of what you said real quick, how do you even, that is one of my goals too, kind of just finding peace in it, being still, not, dwelling on things I cannot control. But how can you do that? The world we are living in today is so scary. So for me, I'm doing, surviving, making it to the next day. It's mid-afternoon, still haven't ate anything, but you know how life goes, taking care of responsibilities. But it's been I feel like even through it all, I feel like it's going to be a very healing year. So far, I put my pride to the side in a lot of different ways. The new year is here. I'm trying to let go and let God in different aspects of my life. I let my child see their other parent. And that was forever. And that was a lot. We can talk about that in a bit. I even went out my way to, I guess, the other baby mom. My daughter shares a sibling. So, I'm being a big girl in a lot of areas to give overall my daughter the best opportunity and experience out of life. So, just dealing with internal sacrifices and trying to forgive others while also forgiving myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like this year, like you said, it was very chaotic. It went by super fast, but I think now it's starting to grasp, okay, this is a new year. And so I want to achieve all these things, or I want to put myself out there in different areas, specifically my love life.
Okay.
We have this, like you said, this administration, and it's and lawsuits, and it's that is a big thing for me right now. One of my New Year's resolutions was working on my health. I'm the biggest I've ever been in my life, bigger than what I was when I was pregnant. And so I feel like that had to do with my birth control, my depression, different things that I was experiencing. And now with the world we're living in and like my situation specifically, not having a boyfriend, but still want to be sexually active, it's like I'm scared. If I get on birth control, I'm going to mess myself up. If I have
Right.
sex and God forbid something happens that I don't want it to happen, women are dying. Women are
Mhm.
being killed, actually. So it's like, it's so hard to like navigate that, especially with us both having girls.
Mhm.
I feel like it's just an out of body experience that we're like learning as we go. And I guess like that's our norm as a young parent, learning as we go, but it's very internally challenging. So
Yeah.
yeah, where I'm at right now.
I agree. It's kind of traumatic. And you asked like how do you do it? I always talk about like this internal safety. I talk about
Mhm.
this mostly with kids, right? Like when kids are in high stress situations, like our kids have been in different scenarios, right? Whether it be with like co-parenting or whatever, then it's important for everybody to be able to have an internal safety. And I think that my internal safety has to remain at peace. Like
Yeah.
literally, I mean, like I'm watching at one point during the fires, they were sending out like evacuation notices
Mm.
on accident. So
Oh.
like the whole city got them. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm about 20 minutes away from the fire and I'm getting this notice. Like, is it real? I'm looking at the map. Is it real? Is it urgent? Should I pack? Should I not pack? Like, and trying to keep, but ultimately having to keep peace, right? Because I have my
You
child
don't have
who
a choice.
friends, right? Like whose friends have, lost their homes or like just her, she's, worried or whatever. And we're trying to like keep the peace. And so with all the things like it literally feels like an out of body experience, like you said. Like just to be a few years ago, and this is full transparency, a few years ago to be a Black woman was way different. Like it was almost like, and I'm still very proud, right? But it was almost like this badge, like you're a Black woman, like you're doing it, whatever. Like we were it, right? And now it really feels like this feels different.
We're
And
going
it feels heavy.
backwards.
We're going backwards. And it's almost like and I try not to like feed into the stuff, but it's like whole communities wiped out.
Yeah. How can you not? That's what I'm saying. It's like I never been like a political person, and mainly due to the fact I don't like speaking on things I don't have much knowledge on. I just
Right.
feel ignorant of it. And now it's like I want to learn more. I wanted to, but then I also want to like protect myself and again try not to dwell over things I cannot control, but it's actually like affecting my own community and potentially myself and my child. So it's like, how can you not involve yourself and inform yourself? But then it's like everything you see is not true, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
phew.
I know. It's a lot. And
Yeah.
that's why you just have to keep the like internal joy, right? Like I have to have joy about the thing that we did a paint party as a team, right? And like just little glimmers of joy. If it's like 1 hour of joy, just like freely painting and laughing and giggling and hearing the kids in the background, or if it's going for a walk, like I feel like we need to talk about what we're doing for ourselves because we need to leave some of that stuff. We talked last year, we talked about mom guilt. Last year, we talked about like some other mental health struggles. We talked about like fears and we talked about a lot of parenting stuff that was just really hard and really heavy. And I feel like it's time like we deserve to now be in like this healing space like you said like 2025. I hate to say like new year 2025 is my year, but I don't do all that because I feel like it adds a lot of pressure. I don't even do new year's resolutions because whatever, right? But I do want to commit to like a word. Like last year it was joy, and this year and in joy I started to find healing, which was great. Like I started to find healing. I started to reflect on like childhood traumas. I started to reflect on like my parenting decisions and how those came from like being parented, right? And different decisions. And I was able to have like conversations with my mom about how, being 16 years old as a single mom and how some of her decisions trickle down to me and how like where she was at and how some of the decisions of her mom trickle down to her. And like I really started to have some healing in that. And it's not perfect and it's still happening. But I think that committing to like versus committing to a thing or like whatever, commit to a word. If your word is health, if your word is healing or whatever, like that it's time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like all the time, like, we have such a heavy load. I mean, it's inevitable, but also, like, we deserve to have a full glass.
Mm,
Like, a full glass of ourselves, a full glass of wine, whatever that full glass may look like. Like, we deserve, the greener grass on the other side.
mhm.
And it's like, a lot of the times I know we're kind of like forced, but also in like a protective way for ourselves to like be still, be in the moment.
Yeah.
And like that's something that I'm really, trying to ground myself with, but also like celebrating small wins
Yeah.
because I know all the time we're like expecting to be on this greener side, which we'll eventually get to. And it's like, I can have that now. Like I can
Mhm.
have the greener grass through the trauma. Like I can still find, positive celebrations and wins throughout it all because like just like looking back, like there's so much that I'm proud of myself with. And I don't really get to express or experience that gratitude for myself because I'm on to the next thing. I'm on to the
Mhm.
next challenge and barrier. So like my wins are very like short
Mm.
celebrations. And it's like I wanna be able to continue to be proud of myself every single
Yeah.
day that I get through because every single day is almost a battle.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that. And just sticking to a word and, actually trying to stick with it. I think
Yeah.
the other half of the battle.
Yeah. Trying to stick with it, but I also think so something you said made me think of this, and this was like this is a pet peeve of mine. And I don't know if you experience this too, but I feel like a lot of people when there's something tragic that happens or something, even not tragic, like just something inconvenient that happens, like people like to say like it could be worse, or they like
Mm,
to say like, well, at least you're not this. Like I saw something on social media the other day and it said no matter what like you're going through, nobody has it worse than this guy. And it was like an image of a man with one crutch. He had one leg, one crutch, and he was like working, like carrying really heavy stuff. And it's like I feel like that dismisses then where you are. Like it does, life doesn't have to be tragic for it to be hard in this
yeah,
season, right? And so I think that that's something that I feel like we need to debunk because it makes us feel like we're not worthy of like having a hard moment. We're not worthy of sharing that hard moment because it's not as bad as like yes, we have a roof over our heads or our, children are taken care of or whatever, but like
yeah,
it's okay to sit in that hardness. It's okay to sit in that like feeling and be like this is hard regardless, like yes, thank God it's not harder, but that doesn't
right.
take away from the fact that it's not that it's
Exactly.
hard.
Yeah, I grew up with that challenge almost all my life.
Yeah.
Actually, um, when I like a specific example, I always got like projected as, oh, perfect household, your parents are still together. And it's like, y'all wouldn't have a clue what's
Mhm.
going on behind them closed door, whether they're legally married. You don't know the traumas that I had to get put in between. And like that stuck with me for a long time because I was judged for that because the
Yeah.
simple fact my parents were together or living together. And it's
Mm.
like, people wouldn't allow me to like express the traumas I had because it was just like, oh, well, at least they're in the house. And it's just
Right.
like, yeah, maybe not. And so, yeah, I can definitely relate to that. And I think it has really intensified becoming a parent because I feel like, well, especially now with like social media, everything is so competitive and everything is being
Right.
compared. And it's like, oh, well, yeah, my situation is a little bit better. Or maybe I shouldn't worry about that. But again, it doesn't take away from your experience and feelings being valued.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. It's kind of wild. It's kind of wild to think like, okay, so since that's the case, like let's give ourselves a second to just think about like what's one thing from the last like week or month or year or whatever that you just like want to let go of. Like you're like, I need to just say it out loud so somebody can like hear me, but then I want to leave it there.
Past relationships and
Mhm.
the traumas in it. Yeah. So, past relationships and the traumas that we're tied to it. I feel like for those who don't know, like I'm going through like a really bad breakup. And I always say recently, and I want to work on like changing my words because realistically, it happened like 3 years ago or more,
Mhm.
like 3 years and counting, but it feels like yesterday.
Mm.
And I don't know if, like, I'm still working on, like, getting over this person, getting over the hurt and the heartbreak, but I noticed that I relive a lot of different scenarios that I've experienced, and I don't know if it's, like, the pain is comforting or what, because it makes me feel really stuck, and I feel like I don't know if you ever seen, like, this picture where it's like you're taking, like, this little teddy bear out of, like, God's hands,
Oh,
and
yes.
he has a bigger one behind
Yes.
it, and it's like, I don't ever wanna put myself in a position to, like, block my blessings or block what is meant to come for me by holding on to different grudges or feelings or ties,
Yeah.
and just being able to let go regardless of how I'm perceived, regardless of needing closure, regardless of, I'm out to look like the bad person, just owning my truth
Yeah.
and not letting others shame me and being able to just like sit with myself and really trying to like not let outside noise influence myself and decisions. And I think that starts with like, cutting off ties, cutting off things that you know aren't good for you,
Mm.
and like leaving it there, not looking
Mhm.
back, and more so learning from it rather than reliving it, I think is a big thing for me.
Yeah. That's true. I could say I can't necessarily think of one thing, but I think that something you also said earlier of just like, being comfortable in your body or whatever. I feel like I said this a few months ago on one of our meetings or something of just like committing to this. Like for me, it's committing to being proud of whatever this is, right? So like instead I you feel like I just cleaned out my okay, so I just clean out my clothes, right? Just clean out my drawers because it got to the point where I did laundry and I had no place to put them,
Wow,
right?
yeah.
So it was like messy stuff. Like the other day I was wearing some like pajamas and my mom came over and she's like, "Are those my old pajamas?" Like literally she had them when she was probably
Let it
younger.
go.
And then I just was like, "Oh, these are comfortable. Like maybe I'll never find something this material again or whatever." And
Right.
just had stuff, right? But like I felt like none of my stuff was really cute. None of it really fit right. None of it really looked like and I have these Pinterest boards of like outfits that I feel like I really want to wear, but then I also am like I'm pretty short and I don't think my frame is built for my weight. And so it feels like it doesn't look
Mhm.
right? Like and so I had to get out of that. Like I really committed to myself. I was like I'm just going to like dress this body where it is. And if everything then I go down a size or something and everything I'm swimming in, well then whatever. Like I'm blessed. I can donate those and I'll get some more clothes. Like I'm not in a place where I'm scrounging or needing and so I think like letting go of the fear, shame of like, what are people gonna think about if I'm
Mhm.
wearing, bright pink and like it's just bright pink and like big, right? I don't care. I actually don't care. And I think it's cute and I'm gonna dress it up. And so that has been kind of my mission of just like being intentional about showing up for myself. Um, even if that means like doing something. I used to always worry about like how is it going to make other people feel or how is it going to whatever, even with parenting, right? Like is this a good parenting choice if I go have dinner with friends for a few hours or, last year I did a lot of traveling for work, which I had never done before. And so, leaving my child and my dog and all that behind and like trying to reconcile, but then also being like, okay, this is a breather where I don't have to cook, I don't have to drive anywhere, I can just like focus. And so um I think being okay with that and finding things that find me joy. I started to find joy in seeing other cities. I
Yeah.
started planning trips. So before I'd be like, that's not like I don't have a desire to go anywhere. I hate being on planes and stuff, but like I found joy in it. And so
Mhm.
I don't know, like I think that now it's about being intentional. Being intentional if but the waiting period is hard. Like the waiting period of getting down to the body that I want to get down to and feeling like combating thoughts of like because I'm where I am now, that's why I'm not gonna like I'm not
Mhm.
gonna be able to even like look for love until I get to this certain ideal thing, right? And so the
Yeah,
waiting of getting to that thing to then put yourself like it's just the waiting game is hard.
it is. Absolutely with body goals, love life. I feel like, I'm 3 years into this, without any love life, non-existent. I'm just like, dang. It makes you almost want to settle. It makes you almost
Right.
want to settle. And it's like, you don't deserve it. And that's another thing that came up for me is also like, I want these things, even though I'm combative with my mind of like where I'm at in the journey, but being able to receive what you're asking for. Like,
Mm,
I know, like, literally, I was writing in my little journal about this. Like, even our platform, like,
mhm.
sometimes I don't feel deserving or worthy to sit here and be this influential person because here I am getting tongue tied. Sometimes I don't know all the things I want to say, and sometimes
Mhm.
I don't feel like my experience is good enough. And I ask God for a platform where I can give back, I can give to others while also helping myself, and just being that person I wish I had. Yeah, like accepting, being able to receive the things that you want, because sometimes we don't feel like worthy or deserving, but you are worthy and you are deserving. Especially, if you're not just walking the walk, you're talking the talk. There's going to be a waiting game, but we can still reap what we sow. Then maybe that's
Yeah.
not the right choice of words, but in that time period, doesn't stop or change yourself and what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you do this, but I always like try and look at okay, like I'm clearly this is a lesson. Like clearly I'm supposed to learn something from this. And then I realize that like not every single thing is a lesson, but
Mm.
also like you said, like sometimes you're just not ready to receive. I saw a meme the other day that said I've been I've been in the house being a wife to myself.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right? And so what does it look like? Like what you're asking, yes, but then are you because what you like you just said, like what you put out is what you receive. And so
Mhm.
if I'm putting out unhealed, hurt,
Mhm.
um, insecure, whatever, then I'm gonna attract back maybe not that, but maybe the opposite of that, like controlling, narcissistic, like the things that I've always I think attracted. And so now as a part of the healing journey of trying to figure out like, okay, who am I? What am I
Right.
going to accept? Who do I want to attract? And it's certainly not that. So I want to attract somebody who, is like has potential to be a good father. I want to attract somebody who's honest, who has done the work to heal their own traumas too. And so how do I come halfway
Mhm.
and they are coming whole
And
way? That doesn't make any
accept it.
sense.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I think I've learned that too is like it's not necessarily a lesson necessarily, but more so just like what am I need to look back at what I have attracted and do I want to have because I have been single much longer than you. And I think I never understood why. I was like, I did all the things. Like I went to the singles mixer nights and I went to the this and I went to the that and I had a book like praying for your future husband. Like I feel like I did it all, but I was doing it all very performatively.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is just what you do. But
Mhm.
realistically, like I'm still the same
Yeah.
me who's still not confronting the things that I need to confront. So I think that this year, like, we need to all commit, like, collectively, the community, everybody to commit to like finding what that thing is. Like, it doesn't have to be total healing, but like finding do you need to give yourself more grace in your parenting? Do you need to find new strategies? Do you need to, when you slip up, forgive yourself?
Mhm.
Because you're always going to slip up, right? Do you need to go do things that find you joy. Like I feel like we need to talk a little bit about what are we doing for self-care? What are we
Yeah.
doing? I hate the term self-care sometimes because I feel like it has to be like massages and whatever, but like what are we doing to take care of ourselves? And one thing I know that I love about you, Divine, is that you're always like, oh, I have an appointment, I have a whatever.
I
You
take
get your
advantage.
nails done faithfully, right? That's one of your things. Like, what are we doing this year exactly to take care of ourselves and to have like a reminder to, loop us back into like
Yeah.
joy and peace?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I outdo self-care, but it also comes from like periods of time where I've like neglected myself. And so like I try to do things that make me feel good about myself. But also like something that I wanted to mention that I'm trying to take into this new year is I seen something on Instagram that was like if you don't and don't quote me, but it was something along the lines of like if you don't change it, it's a choice. And
Mm,
like just tapping into being intentional.
mm-hmm.
Like a lot of the times I'm talking about my health while I'm eating a full big bag of chocolate and a full big bag of chips, and then I want a gummy bear, and then I
Right,
want
right.
something else to wash it down. And so like trying to get out of my head, but again, here we go, then trying to find grace and understanding and like being able to also enjoy yourself. I'm not really big on like dieting, but more so like proportionizing and just like trying to find satisfaction in different things. I feel like growing up, I try like filling voids, and I think that's how
Yeah,
I binge a lot of things in my life. So just trying to find a healthy satisfaction in different areas of my life without, going above my means or just unnecessarily partaking in things that I don't need to be just for the temporary satisfaction, but more so like long term and committing and it comes with discipline and stuff and I'm working on it. But I really thought that was a good thing because, we can all talk about things and, although again, waiting games, but like every baby step counts, honestly. Like every single
mhm,
day, it doesn't matter what that step is, as long as you're intentional and walking in that right path. Like I feel
mhm.
like things should come your way receptive off of your goals. But, and sometimes that's hard to take those steps, but,
Yeah,
we have to or then it becomes a choice. And that is something that is motivating me because, sometimes there are things that we can change and do better in different areas to evolve into the person whom we want to be. So it
yeah,
helps me with accountability.
yeah, yeah. True. And I think also practicing what you preach because because you
Mhm.
add the layer of parenting and you have somebody watching your every move. And so being like one thing that I have learned that that I still don't do perfectly that, my daughter calls me out on all the time is like being mindful. Like I saw something again on social media where it was like, be careful what you say about yourself because
Mhm.
your children will grow up being told you look so much like your mother.
Yeah, I seen that.
Right? And so if you have downplayed who you are or what you are and I still do say certain things, but honestly like it has shifted to like like a celebratory thing, like whatever, but I think that we have people looking at us and so being mindful of what you're doing, whether it be like prioritizing yourself, whether it be taking a minute to go shopping and whatever, whether it be getting your nails done, or it could be something as simple as like reading a book or watching a TV show that you want to watch or scrolling Pinterest and making boards. Like it doesn't have to be some grand gesture. I think that when you hear of like self-care, you think of grand gesture and then sometimes that feels out of reach, especially if you're a young parent or if you're, you know, working through things financially or whatever, but it could be right within your wheelhouse. Cooking, looking
Dang.
up different meals and cooking different meals, going to the grocery store by yourself, like whatever it is, that counts. And so I think that we have to do that more. And I think that we have to practice it so that we can show our children too that like prioritize yourself, even if your friends are not doing it, even if you're
Right.
whatever, like take time for yourself, do what you want to do. Um, and don't waste so much time. I think also, as I don't know if you feel this way, but having a child young, I feel like there was a big block of time where I just kind of was just only a parent, but I also was only the idea of a parent that I thought I had to
Mhm.
be. So it was almost like grandma. Like I almost felt like a grandma. I still kind of
Mhm.
do feel like a grandma, but I
Yeah.
almost felt like a grandma. Like I felt like I dressed like a grandma. I felt like I acted like a grandma. I feel like I didn't want to be out. And I would constantly say this narrative, but it was really just to convince myself that I was doing the right things. People would be like, you need to go out or you need to this, or you need to that. And I'm like, no, no. Like I don't want to. And like
Mm.
partially I don't want to because I'm a little bit of a homebody, but like partially maybe I did want to, and I was just saying that as like a defense mechanism.
Mhm.
So what are the things this year? Like what are we doing? What are we committing to? We're committing to like if we're gonna travel, we need to travel. If we're gonna, we could bring our kids along too. If we're gonna sit and vent with our friends for hours and hours, like that's fine. If we're gonna watch TV and have our kids stay in their room, that's what we're gonna do. Like just
Right.
being intentional about your time because you like yes, we want to I want to make sure that like my child has the best childhood. She only gets one childhood, but that can happen as well as me making sure that I have a good young adult life.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I ever mentioned this in our past podcast, but literally with my mentees, I always use the same reference, and I always go to like the instructions like the flight attendant gives
Mhm.
parents for survival, like if in case of emergency, before putting on the life vest and breathing tubes for your kid, you need to put that on yourself first,
Mhm.
because ultimately you are an influence to them. Your parenting will, in some sort of way, influence, affect whatever your child. So if you're not in your right state of mind, who in the heck is going to be there to care for your child? If
Mhm.
anyone, if you're not safe and alive and well taken care of at first, because that is so true. Before I was like really prioritizing my mental health, I was really affected by different traumas and my health, and like sad to say, like a lot of it I took out on my child, like unconsciously, not being mindful, not being intentional, just living in hurt and pain. And it's sad to say, but hurt people. But when you're a parent, you really don't have a choice, and it really puts you at a standard to be accountable with yourself, but
Mhm.
it doesn't take away of how hard that is. And so
Mhm.
just being mindful of yourself, because if you're not in your right state of mind, like I always tell people too, I guess team single mom, like don't settle. Don't stay in a
Right.
relationship because of a kid. Don't stay at a job because of the pay. Like do not settle, because at the end of the day, it is not worth it. If it's not bringing you happiness where you're able to then bring happiness at home,
Mhm.
it's never worth it. It's
It's
never
not
worth
worth it. Yeah, I think that's a good place to end. I think just to kind of I think our collective, I think we kind of sort of agreed on this, maybe we'll agree that our collective word is intentional. Like we have to be intentional. We have to be intentional about ourselves, our grace, our healing, our health, whatever. I think this year, I know we're a little bit into this year, but like it's not too late. So
it.
collectively, our word is intentional.
Yes.
So leave comments and things on how you're being intentional
Yes.
and what that looks like for you. And we will check in at the end of this year and do a full recap of how we showed up intentionally.
Yes, hopefully, hopefully, our New Year's resolution was resolved. But also, I say like check in on your mom friends, check in on your regular friends, parent, non-parent, like check in on your parents,
Yeah.
family members, because it's 101 things times 101 of what's going on in people's brains. And you just never know what someone is going through behind closed doors. So check on your friends. This is not our final check-in. I'm ready
No.
for the next check-in, because
Right.
we didn't even get into details on things. So
Right.
until next time,
The
not only
next
be
time.
intentional, don't don't feel like you can't let it go. Throw it in the trash, walk away,
Okay.
block
That's loose.
block, block, delete, move, do what you have to do to find your intentional peace for yourself.
Yep.
Thank
We
you
got
guys
you.
for listening. Yes. And I hope y'all got us, because we
Yeah.
need to.
We need the follows and the likes and all the stuff. So we
Yes.
need that too. But
Love
we
is
got
free. Support is free. Please subscribe for our next conversation.
yeah. Bye.
Bye, guys.
If you enjoyed the Up podcast, please subscribe, share, and leave a comment.
And visit youngunitedparents.org for the information, community, and resources young moms and dads need to thrive.